I have a tale to tell that you may not know, because it happened so long ago, about witches and beer and the masculine ego, of a time women had income but then let it all go. It was taken away by men, don't you know? And the myth we are left with, you will certainly know, of witches and broomsticks, which led to the glow of fiery pyres and drownings in water. But to these alewives we owe a debt of honour, and to honour their memory, think of them now. For all you women creating an income, shout out loud, be more witch, and of this heritage be proud. Hi everyone. If you think you know the story of witches, I want to give you a different narrative that perhaps you don't know, and I'm going to read from my notes that I can stick to the point. Do you know why witches have pointed hats and broomsticks? Once upon a time, the 5th century to be accurate, beer was brewed by women. Beer at that time was what most people drank because the water wasn't very good to drink, and beer was purer than water at the time. And because it was made in a kitchen, and mostly men drank it, it was considered women's work to make the beer. The women who made the beer were known as alewives. Some worked in the big houses as employees to brew beer, and while other alewives brewed beer at home and sold it. Yep, they were honeys making money. They were entrepreneurs, and this was a cottage industry. These alewives had their own income and some level of independence. Yet society as it was at the time had a low regard for alewives, and plays and poems from the 14th and 15th centuries depict them as wayward and not being worthy of saved from hell. For many centuries, alewives were the brewing industry, and they had some trademarks that identified them as such. If they were selling beer on an outdoor stall, they had a tall hat. There is a tale that the height of the hat depicted how wealthy they were in their business. And guess what colours the hats were? Black. To advertise they sold beer from their home, they placed a broomstick outside the property, and the broomstick was a sign of domestic trade. And they brewed their beer in big vats. And one of the challenges to brewing was that mice, likely rampant in those times, would hang around the vats, hoping to catch stray grains used in the brewing. Which is a valid reason why the alewives would keep cats to kill the mice. You know where this is going, right? The brewing industry today is big business, and while there are female master brewers, it is seen as a male-dominated industry. Women were forced to stop brewing around the 1500s and 1600s. This was for political, religious, and gender-motivated reasons. The alewives were perceived as dangerous women and temptresses who lured men to spend their money on beer. And the rest, as they say, is history. The patriarchy at that time began a campaign to paint these women as wicked, evil, and temptresses, making men fall into bad ways. Because clearly men were too weak to take responsibility for themselves and for their own drinking. That campaign, whilst I can find no evidence that it was the start of the witch hunts, did use the tall black pointed hats, the cauldron, the broomstick and the cat to define the devils that these women were meant to be. So eventually, men took over brewing beer and made the money instead. Not only did these women lose their income, far worse, they lost their lives. Witch hunts were happening in the earnest in the 14th century onwards. The Catholic Church was involved, and men independently took it upon themselves to seek out witches and to kill them. And this happened all over Europe, also happened in North America, probably happened in other parts of the world too. Now, I'm not a historian, and I don't wish to live in the past. The present moment is where the magic is. But this narrative of history explains the position of women in society today. Why some women have difficulty making their own money, because we have an ancestry that it can be taken away from us at any time with no reason. We have an ancestry that we were not worthy of making money. And those accused of and killed as witches were not just alewives, they were the women who acted as midwife, bringing life into the world, as healers, using the natural remedies that nature gave us, and those who were intuitive and were deemed to have put spells on you. It's time to break bonds with this piece of history and to reclaim the witch. If you are making your own income, wear your hat high. Consider using alternative healers and remedies. And reclaim your intuition. Make spells for yourself to manifest the life that you want and to feel empowered. This is a particular part of history across Europe, but also witch hunts happened in North America. Other nations and continents have their own history of how women and men have been treated based on a patriarchal set of values that included superiority, entitlement, and twisted religious values. Let's take this piece of history and feel empowered by it. Let's create a shift for the next generation of women that they don't have to hold on to this ancestry. To know that we can honour these women from the past, and together we can change and dismantle the patriarchal insanity that prevents women and men from holding equal place in society. And that's the tale I have to tell of witches, broomsticks, casts and spells. To reclaim our power and earn our cash, my spell for you is that good fortune lasts. To have peace and equality reaching all, to honour ancestors who did their best. And now we can let them rest, as we stand up for what we believe. And for now, I take my leave. We are the granddaughters of the witches you tried to kill. And if you want to find out more about the ancestry of witches, there are some fantastic books around. First of all, I want to tell you about In Defence of Witches by Mona Chollet. This is about contemporary women and how the genocide and the history of witches still impacts how women are treated today in society. Fabulous book, great read. The Witches of Salem, very popular history, a great narrative historical history here by Stacey Schiff. England's witchcraft trials, because we know a lot about Salem, but this one is particularly about England and Willow Winsham. But there was another history as well. There was not just the women that this impacted, it impacted men too. And this is a book about witchfinders by Malcolm Gaskill. And those are historical books. But if you're looking for a good story, Now She Is Witch by Kirsty Logan. I've only just started reading this. I can't tell you much about it other than I just love the title and the book and the cover book. Whatever you're reading, take care. And this is an important piece of history that we don't get taught, and it's up to us to educate ourselves about this part of history, to honour those ancestors, and to teach our daughters, granddaughters and nieces the importance of this part of history and the empowerment that we can take from it. Take care, see you later.